welcome back to Growth House, your home for everything that makes you think bigger, live smarter, and grow beyond what you thought was possible.
It's genuinely really good to be back. And honestly, looking at the stack of research we have on the table today, I think living smarter is exactly the right theme.
Yeah.
But I do have to warn you, and, I have to warn the listeners. We are about to touch a serious nerve today.
Oh, I have a distinct feeling we are. We are diving into a deep dive
Hmm.
today that I think is going to make, well, basically every single person listening right now pause.
Right.
They're going to look at their phone or their laptop and just view it with a massive amount of suspicion.
Absolutely.
We are talking about the promise of AI versus the cold, hard reality of our calendars.
Yeah.
But before we get into the heavy sociological stuff, I have a very specific, slightly invasive question for you.
Okay, I'm braced. Lay it on me.
I want you to pull up your history, mental or digital, I don't care which.
Oh, boy.
Tell me honestly, what time did you send your very last AI prompt yesterday?
Oh, so you're starting with the hard questions immediately.
I am.
You're putting me on the spot right out of the gate. Okay, let me think back. I was winding down, honestly.
Yeah.
It was probably around 11:50 p.m., maybe 11:20.
Or 11:01 p.m. Okay, now context matters here. We need to establish the scene. Were you putting out a massive fire?
No.
Was the server down? Client screaming on the other line?
No, and that's the embarrassing part. That's the part that really hurts to admit. I was just tweaking. You know that feeling.
Oh, yeah.
I had this idea for a structural change in a document I was working on for today, something that wasn't even due yet. And I just thought, let me just run this through the model really quick to see how it looks.
Just really quick.
Yeah, it felt totally harmless. It was the classic, just one quick thing syndrome. I'll just see what it
It's
says.
just one quick thing. And that right there, that is the hook.
Yeah.
That is the smoking gun for this entire deep dive. Because today, we are unpacking a massive realization that is hitting the global workforce like an absolute freight train.
Completely.
Because we were sold a very specific bill of goods over the last 2 years. We were promised that artificial intelligence would be the great liberator.
The great equalizer.
Exactly. It was supposed to take the grunt work off our plates, handle the drudgery, give us our weekends back, maybe usher in that 4-day work week we've all been hearing about.
Right. It's the Keynesian dream of the leisure society. We've heard the pitch 1,000 times. Let the bots do the work so the humans can do the thinking.
Or let the AI handle the execution so you can, I don't know, sit on the beach and sip a margarita.
Exactly. But the reality is we aren't seeing more leisure. We aren't seeing empty offices on Fridays.
Not at all.
For a massive chunk of professionals, and I'm talking about the high performers here, the people who are actually good at using these tools.
The ones who read the newsletters.
Right, the power users. AI hasn't made them work less. It has made them work significantly more.
More hours, more stress.
And we aren't talking about better work either. We're talking about a trap.
It is a trap. It's a productivity trap. And we're basing this deep dive today on a really insightful breakdown from Ruben Hassid's newsletter.
Which is excellent.
Yeah, it really kicked off this conversation for us. But we're also layering on some fascinating and honestly slightly terrifying data from a recent Harvard study.
Oh, that study is wild.
It really is. It resonates because it highlights a behavior pattern that I think most of you listening have fallen into without even noticing. We are drowning in output, but we are starving for actual impact.
So true.
So let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because to understand why we're working more, despite having tools that are infinitely faster than we are, we have to look at how the work itself feels.
Right.
We need to talk about what Hassid calls the friction trap.
Get a friction trap, yeah.
But I want to challenge this idea of friction first, because usually in tech or in UX design, we talk about friction as a bad thing.
Always. We want frictionless experience.
Exactly. One-click buying.
Yeah.
Seamless integration.
Yeah.
Why is friction suddenly the hero of the story here?
That is such a crucial distinction to make. If you look at the history of digital tools, almost all of them, by design, felt like labor. They had cognitive friction built in.
Yeah.
And that friction was actually a regulatory mechanism for our brains.
Give me a concrete example. Compare the old world to this new world for us.
Okay, take Excel, or even just classic email.
No.
When you open an Excel spreadsheet, your brain doesn't go, oh, goody, playtime.
No, definitely not.
Let's have some fun. No, it goes, okay, brace yourself. This is work.
You feel a physical weight.
Exactly. There is inherent friction. You have to format cells, you have to write formulas, you have to debug why that VLUP isn't working or why your pivot table is completely broken.
Right.
It resists you. The tool demands a caloric input from your brain before it gives you anything back.
Even Google search is like that, right?
Yes.
We think of Google as easy because we've used it for 20 years, but it's actually an active process.
Very active.
You type a query, but then you have work to do. You have to scroll past the sponsored ads, dodge the SEO scam sites,
Click 3 different links.
read, synthesize, copy, paste. It's a high-friction foraging process. You are hunting and gathering information.
It's foraging. That's the perfect word for it. And that friction serves a very specific evolutionary purpose. It creates a mental boundary.
A boundary.
The friction signals to your brain, I am currently expending effort. This is labor. And because it feels like labor, you naturally want to stop doing it eventually.
Yeah, brain gets tired.
Right. It seeks energy conservation. It says, okay, we've done enough Excel for today. Let's close the laptop.
But then enters AI. And specifically the chat interface. This is where the game completely changes.
This is where all the wires get crossed.
Right.
And this is what we call the texting a friend illusion. The interface of modern AI, whether that's ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever you happen to use, it isn't a complex dashboard with buttons and levers and scary menus.
Right, it doesn't look like a cockpit.
Exactly. It looks like WhatsApp. It's just a text box. It mimics social interaction perfectly.
You type, hey, can you fix this?
And it replies, sure, here you go.
It triggers a completely different part of the brain. It's pure dopamine.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like you're wrestling with a tool. It feels like you're having a conversation.
It feels relational. And that is the psychological trick. Because it feels like texting, because it feels social and low friction, your brain doesn't register it as work in the same way it registers building a pivot table.
Right.
It lowers the barrier to entry to basically 0. You don't need to brace yourself to send a prompt. You just do it.
Which sounds great on paper. I mean, we want low barriers to entry. I want to be able to start a project without dreading it.
Absolutely.
Want to overcome writer's block instantly.
We do want to remove the friction of starting. That's the positive side of all this. If I have writer's block, AI removes that friction instantly. Boom, I have a draft. I haven't stared at a blank page in 2 years.
Right.
But here is the dark side that nobody talks about. It also removes the friction of stopping.
Break that down for me. Why does removing the friction of stopping lead to working more? Because usually we stop when we're just physically tired.
Think about your 11 p.m. prompt again. Let's go right back to that moment. If you had to manually rewrite that document structure at 11:15 p.m. without the AI, would you have done it?
Absolutely not. I would have looked at the clock, realized I'd have to cut and paste and retype for 40 minutes. My eyes would have glossed over, and I would have said, I'm tired. This is hard. I'm going to bed. It can wait until morning.
Exactly. The difficulty of the task acts as a natural stopping point.
The pain of the work forces a cost-benefit analysis.
Yes. You unconsciously ask yourself, is the pain of doing this worth the result? And at 11 p.m., the answer is clearly no. But with AI, sending just one more prompt takes, 3 seconds?
Yeah, barely a thought.
It requires almost 0 calories of effort. So the cost of continuing to work is actually lower than the effort it takes to make the decision to stop.
Wow. That is a really profound shift. It's actually harder to decide to stop than it is to just keep going. So productivity morphs into an addiction pattern. It's the exact same mechanic as scrolling TikTok or Instagram Reels. It's easier to flick your thumb one more time than it is to put the phone down.
Precisely. It is an infinite scroll for work tasks. And that's exactly why we see this complete lack of boundaries now.
People are prompting during lunch.
Because it doesn't feel like work. They're prompting secretly during meetings under the table. They're prompting, like I did, right before they go to sleep.
The mental clock-out trigger never fires.
Never. Because the work never feels heavy enough to force you to put it down. You are just stuck in a dopamine loop of ask and receive, ask and receive.
You know, it's interesting you mention that because it moves this from just a theory about how we feel to hard data about what we actually do.
Right.
It's really easy for us to sit here in a studio and say, oh, people are addicted. But we actually have this incredible study involving Harvard and the Boston Consulting Group, BCG.
Yes.
And it confirms exactly what you're describing. And we have to remember, this isn't a study of interns or college students trying to write essays.
No, these are high-level consultants.
This study is wildly important for anyone in the knowledge economy.
So Harvard scholars, along with heavy hitters from MIT and Warwick, went into a very tech-forward environment, the consultants at BCG, and they monitored them.
They set up a highly controlled experiment for 8 full months.
And the key context here, the thing you have to remember, is that the AI usage was voluntary. Nobody was holding a gun to their head saying, use this tool or you're fired.
Which usually implies that the people using it are the go-getters,
Hmm.
the ones trying to be hyper-efficient. These are the people who want to optimize their workflows.
Right. And the hypothesis, the totally illogical assumption that any economist would make would be these people will use AI, finish their work in half the time because the tool is faster, and they will go home early.
Right.
Or maybe they'll use the extra time to do deep strategic thinking.
And let me guess, that is absolutely not what happened.
Not even close. It backfired completely. Every single participant in the study ended up working more.
More, less.
Not just a little bit more either. We are talking about a significant increase in total hours and total volume of output. They basically became output machines.
So how does that happen? If the tool makes you faster, and we know AI is faster than human typing, logic dictates you should finish sooner. Where is all the time going?
It's a great question.
How do you save time on every individual task, but end up with less time overall?
Well, the study broke it down into 3 specific effects, and I want to go through these really carefully because I guarantee listeners will recognize themselves in at least 2 of them today.
Let's do it.
The first one is what they call role absorption.
Role absorption. That sounds intense. Is that like scope creep?
It is scope creep on steroids.
Okay.
Because the AI makes things so easy to try, employees started absorbing tasks that were completely outside their job descriptions.
Like what? Give me a scenario. How does a management consultant absorb other roles?
Okay, imagine a product manager. Their actual job is strategy, coordination, talking to stakeholders. But suddenly they realize, hey, I can just ask the AI to write this Python script for me to analyze the data myself, instead of waiting 3 days for the data science team.
Oh, I see.
Or a researcher saying, I can just design this graphic myself using DALL-E instead of waiting for the design team to have an opening in their sprint.
So instead of delegating that task to an engineer or a designer or just simply waiting for the proper resources, they just decide to do it themselves.
Exactly.
Because the AI makes it feel possible. It drastically lowers the skill barrier.
Yes. It's the one-person team fallacy. You think you're being so efficient by not waiting for others. You think, I'm a hero, I'm doing it all.
Right.
But what you're actually doing is filling your entire day with tasks that you were never hired to do. You're absorbing the workload of 3 different roles.
You stop being a specialist.
And you start being a generalist who is just drowning in shallow tasks. You are now the coder, the designer, the copywriter, and the strategist.
That makes total sense. You're expanding your scope because the barrier to entry for those other skills has dropped. But the time it takes to manage those outputs, that still exists.
Absolutely.
You still have to check the code. You still have to iterate the image prompt. You still have to read and edit the copy.
You aren't an expert in those things. So you spend way too much time fiddling with them, trying to get them right. And that leads directly to the second effect the study found. The bleed.
The bleed. This sounds like a horror movie title.
It kind of is for your mental health, honestly. The bleed refers to how work actively infiltrated recovery time. Because prompting is so casual, like we said earlier, it feels like texting. It just started creeping into the cracks of the day.
The commute.
Yeah.
The lunch break.
Yes.
The waiting room at the dentist. The time while the pasta is boiling on the stove.
Exactly. Think about the before times. If you had 10 minutes before a meeting, what did you do?
You stared out the window. You grabbed a coffee. You chatted about sports with a colleague.
Right. That was interstitial time. It was recovery. It was boring sometimes, sure, but it was completely necessary.
You pull out the phone.
Now you think, I can just quickly generate 3 ideas for that campaign before the call starts. You fill every single silent moment with output. We are systematically erasing recovery time from our lives. We are killing boredom, but we're also killing rest.
And the brain needs that downtime. It's not a luxury. It's a biological requirement.
It's called the default mode network in neuroscience. Your brain literally needs to idle to process information and make deep connections. That's why you get your best ideas in the shower.
Because you aren't prompting in the shower.
Well, not yet anyway.
True.
When you fill every gap with this low-friction work, you are burning out the engine. Even if you aren't redlining it, you're just never, ever letting it cool down.
And I assume the third effect is related to how we handle all this crazy volume.
Yes. Increased multitasking. The study showed a massive rise in running multiple threads simultaneously. People would have 3 or 4 different AI conversations going at once. Generating an email over here, debugging some code over there, drafting a strategy memo here.
It's a permanent state of juggling.
It is. And the result of all this, The role absorption, the bleed, the multitasking. It's what the researchers call the productivity paradox.
Productivity paradox.
Because the participants reported feeling more productive than they ever had in their entire lives. They felt like gods. They felt superhuman.
Why?
But they also reported feeling busier and more exhausted than ever before. They were completely burnt out.
That is the crucial distinction we have to make. Feeling productive is a sensation. It's an emotion.
Yes.
Being effective is an actual result.
Yeah.
And if you're exhausted and working 12 hours a day, are you actually winning? Or are you just sweating a lot more?
There was an engineer in the study who had this brilliant quote that I think just sums it up perfectly. He said, "You realize that AI makes you faster, but that speed doesn't result in working less time. It just results in doing more volume."
More volume.
You're running on a treadmill that just keeps speeding up. You think you're getting ahead, but you're really just staying in place, running much faster.
This brings us to a concept that I think defines this entire era of work. It is the absolute enemy we're all fighting right now, even if we don't have a name for it yet. Performative productivity.
Yes. This is the core of the problem. This is exactly what we need to label so we can actually fight it.
Let's paint the picture. And listeners, I want you to really visualize this because I guarantee you have been here. It is 11:00 p.m. You have been shipping all day.
All day long.
You've generated landing page copy. You've restructured the Q3 pitch deck. You've fired off 20 incredibly detailed emails. You've built a content calendar for the next 3 months. You feel this buzz.
Oh, yeah, that vibration.
This vibration of having done so much.
We're vibrating with output. It feels electric in the moment. You feel like a master of the universe.
Exactly. But then you finally close your laptop and you try to answer one simple question. What did I actually accomplish today that moved the needle? What did I do that actually matters for the business? And you come up completely blank.
That is the terrifying moment. You realize you were incredibly busy, but you weren't effective. You were spinning plates, but you didn't actually cook the meal.
Generating noise, not signal.
Exactly. High output, low impact.
So how is this different from just being lazy? Or honestly, just being bad at your job?
Yeah.
Because usually we associate not getting things done with slacking off, playing video games.
Right. But it's the exact opposite of lazy. That's why it's so incredibly dangerous. Lazy feels bad. Lazy feels like guilt.
True?
If you sit on the couch all day binging a show, you know you didn't work. You feel it. But performative productivity feels good in the moment.
Because you're generating things.
Yes. It feels like high output. It creates this very convincing illusion of motion.
Is this what you call the filter problem? I know we discussed this in the prep.
Yes. This is the absolute best way to understand the economics of what's happening to us. Pre-AI, the difficulty of starting a task acted as a natural filter. If you had an idea for a massive strategy document, you had to ask yourself, is this idea good enough for me to spend 3 painful hours typing it out?
Right. The pain of the work forced you to evaluate the value of the work.
Exactly.
It was a cost-benefit analysis that just happened automatically in your head.
Yes. And if the answer was, maybe not, you didn't do it. You saved those 3 hours. You filtered out the bad idea naturally.
But post-AI.
Post-AI, there is no pain. There is zero friction. So you don't ask, is this worth it? You just tell the machine, generate it.
So we flood our own world with outputs that didn't even need to exist in the first place.
Exactly. We create these 50-page documents that nobody reads. We send long emails nobody answers. We make elaborate project plans that nobody executes.
We are drowning in mediocrity that we created ourselves.
We have circular momentum. We're moving so incredibly fast, spinning in circles, generating drafts and versions and options, but we aren't actually going anywhere.
We're just making a mess at light speed.
That's it. We're just making a huge mess.
It's like we've handed the keys to a sports car, to a toddler who just wants to drive really fast but has no idea where the map is.
That is a perfect analogy. AI allows us to skip the hardest part of work. And the reality is, the hardest part isn't the typing. It isn't the coding.
No.
The hardest part of work is deciding what is actually worth doing. That is the human burden.
Wow. That is profound.
Well,
We are outsourcing the execution, which is fine. That's what tools are for. But we are accidentally abdicating the decision-making process because the execution has become so cheap.
yes.
We think because we can do it, we automatically should do it.
And that logic gap is why we are all working late. We're spending our evenings cleaning up messes we shouldn't have made in the first place. We're editing documents that shouldn't have been written. We're managing projects that shouldn't have been started.
Okay, so we've identified the trap. The diagnosis is very clear. We know about the texting illusion that keeps us hooked.
Mm.
We know about the Harvard study proving we're working way more through role absorption and the bleed. We know about performative productivity. Now we need the cure. We need to claw our time back. We have to stop this bleeding.
We really do. And fortunately, looking at the source material from Hassid, there are 5 specific rules.
Excellent.
And I love these because they are constraints. And constraints are exactly what we're missing in this infinite generative world.
Let's run through them. Rule number 1, the one-sentence filter.
This is your new first step. Before you open the AI, before you type a single prompt into that little chat box, you have to write down one sentence on a sticky note, on a piece of paper. Analog is really better here.
Okay, one sentence doing what?
Defining exactly what problem you are solving.
Just one sentence. What if it's a really complex problem?
Especially if it's complex. If you cannot define the problem in one clean sentence, you do not understand the problem yet.
That makes sense.
And if you prompt the AI with a vague understanding, the AI will just generate vague noise.
Garbage in, garbage out. But at a massive scale now.
Exactly. If you just say, help me with my marketing, you get generic, useless drivel. But if you say, I need to increase click-through rates on this specific Tuesday email by 2% for a Gen Z audience, you get a solution.
And that vague noise is what keeps you up at night. Because then you spend 4 hours trying to edit and fix an output that was flawed from the very start.
Because your intent was blurry. Vague intent leads to high-volume garbage. Clear intent leads to a targeted solution. The one-sentence filter stops you from using the AI to figure out what you're doing.
Right. You figure it out first, then you use the AI to execute. It forces the cognitive load back onto the human where it actually belongs.
Exactly.
I love that. Force the human to do the human work first. Okay, rule number 2, the subtraction ratio.
This one hurts a little bit, but it is deeply necessary. The rule is kill 3 tasks for every 1 task AI helps you add.
Oof. 3 to 1. That is aggressive. Why so high?
It has to be. Because AI makes adding work incredibly easy. You just think, oh, let's add a daily newsletter, let's add an hourly report, let's add a brand new market analysis.
It's effortless to add complexity.
Right, so you have to manually, painfully discipline yourself to subtract.
This is about cultivating taste.
Yes. Taste in work is the ability to say no. It's about recognizing that doing more things usually just means doing them worse. You need to clear the deck.
Right.
If AI helps you do one thing faster, use that save time to think, not to just arbitrarily add 3 more low-value tasks.
It's the difference between a cheap buffet and a fine dining meal. We don't want a plate piled high with lukewarm, average food. We want the absolute best steak.
Ideally, yes, we want the steak. And to get the steak, you have to say no to the breadsticks, you have to walk past the salad bar, you really have to focus.
Rule number 3, and this one speaks directly to your 11 p.m. confession earlier.
I knew this was coming back around.
Oh, of course it is. The last prompt, hard stop.
This is simple but absolutely essential. You need a curfew. Set a specific time, let's say 8:00 p.m., after which no prompts are sent, period.
Treat it like a locked door.
Treat it like the office lights have been turned off and the building is closed.
Why is this so hard for people to do? Why do we resist setting a stopping point so much?
Because of that addiction pattern we talked about, it always feels like, oh, just one more thing. It'll just take a second.
Right.
But you have to break the loop. You have to reframe rest, not as just not working, but as an active, productive behavior.
That is a really powerful shift. Rest is a productive behavior.
Think about it. If you are an athlete, recovery is literally part of your training schedule. If you don't sleep, your muscles don't grow. It is the exact same for knowledge work.
Your brain is the muscle.
Exactly. If your brain doesn't recharge, your decision-making quality drops. And if your decision-making drops, you start engaging in that performative productivity. It's a vicious cycle.
Now, the work will remain tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
but your brain's capacity won't if you don't force a stop.
Exactly.
Okay, rule number 4, more versus right.
This is a question you just have to ask yourself constantly throughout the day. Am I doing more things right now, or am I doing the right things?
We confuse motion with progress so easily.
We do. We absolutely love being busy. Being busy makes us feel important. It makes us feel needed by our teams. But AI can make you infinitely busy.
100% utilization on completely useless tasks.
Right. You have to step back and look at the goal. Is this activity actually moving me closer to the finish line? Or am I just running laps around the track to break a sweat?
And finally, rule number 5. This might be the most important one for actual quality control. Direction over speed.
The rule here is AI writes version 1, but the human decides if version 1 should even exist.
We talked about this a bit with the filter problem earlier. Just because you can generate it in 10 seconds doesn't mean you should.
Critical thinking has to be the firewall. You have to look at the output, or really, better yet, look at the idea of the output and fundamentally challenge it.
Does this email campaign actually need to go out?
Does this 80-page policy document actually solve the root problem?
Don't sprint before you know the destination.
Precisely. AI is a Ferrari. It is incredibly fast. But if you drive a Ferrari 200 miles per hour in the completely wrong direction, you are just getting lost faster than anyone else.
Direction first, speed second.
Always.
I think that's a mantra we need to put on a t-shirt, honestly.
No.
Don't get lost faster. Okay, so we have the 5 rules, but I really want to get practical here at the end. I want to give the listener something they can do literally today, right after this deep dive is over, to reset their brain.
We have 2 specific prompts designed to completely break this performative productivity cycle, and they are designed to be run in order.
All right, let's hear them. Walk us through it. Prompt number 1, the goal challenge.
This is about ruthless prioritization. You are going to open your AI of choice, Chat, Claude, it doesn't matter, and you're going to paste in a list of everything you are currently working on.
Every project.
Every project, every task, every side quest, every little favor you're doing for a different department, put it all in there.
That sounds terrifying already. That's going to be a very long, very messy list.
It should be. Then you tell the AI this. You say, challenge me. I need to pick only one thing that actually matters for the next 90 days. Force me to justify why anything else should stay on this list.
Wow. So you are explicitly asking the AI to be the bad guy. You're asking it to rip away your security blanket of busy work.
Exactly. You want it to interrogate you. You want it to say, why is this weekly report on the list? Does it drive revenue? No. Then why on earth is it taking up your time?
The objective is to eliminate that feeling that everything is critical.
Because if everything is important, nothing is.
I really love that. It uses the AI's cold hard logic capabilities against your own emotional attachment to your work.
It's very effective.
Okay, so once you've survived that roast and you have your one true goal, what is prompt number 2?
Prompt number 2 is the weekly audit. You take that one goal you identified in the first prompt, then you list out every single activity you actually did in the past week.
So you really have to look at your calendar, your sent emails, your browser history. Be honest with it.
Be completely honest. Look at what you actually did, not what you planned to do. Then you feed that to the AI and ask it to score each task.
Right.
You ask it, did this task move me toward the main goal, or was it performative productivity? Ask it to be harsh. Ask it to give you a definitive percentage score.
So it comes back and says, you spent 40% of your week on actual work and 60% on absolute nonsense.
It is a cold shower, but it's necessary. And then finally, you ask it to generate a plan for next week that strips away the busy work. You tell it, based on this audit, tell me what I should absolutely not do next week.
And here is where the argument factor comes in, right? This is something you flagged in the prep notes that I thought was fascinating.
Yes, the argument factor. When you read that audit from the AI, you are probably going to get angry. You are going to desperately want to argue with it.
You're going to say, but wait, you don't understand context? That email thread was totally crucial because of office politics.
Exactly. And that anger is a signal.
It's the ultimate signal.
If you want to argue with the audit, it completely reveals your emotional attachment to the busy work. It reveals that you are clinging to tasks that make you feel productive, but actually aren't.
So the goal isn't necessarily to just obey the AI blindly like a robot, but to use the friction of that argument to see yourself clearly.
Exactly. We need to shift our mindset. We have to move from using AI just to produce more to using AI to see clearly.
That is the evolution.
That is how you actually escape the trap.
This has been, honestly, a massive wake-up call. I think we all really needed to hear this. We walked into this era thinking AI was this magic wand for saving time, and we're realizing it's actually a mirror showing us how bad we are at managing our own attention.
It's just a tool, and a tool only amplifies whatever is already there. If you are highly disciplined, it amplifies your discipline, but if you are chaotic and prone to busyness, it just amplifies the chaos.
So let's wrap this up and send people on their way. We've covered the friction trap, how the ease of texting AI completely destroys our ability to clock out.
We covered the Harvard study showing that even the smartest consultants fall into role absorption and the bleed.
The paradox of feeling insanely productive while you are actively drowning. And we've given you the 5 rules and the 2 prompts to fix it today.
And if you take absolutely one thing away from this deep dive, let it be this. AI power without direction is just noise. It does not matter how incredibly fast you can generate text or code if you do not know why you were generating it in the first place.
Pick one tool, master it deeply, stop juggling a dozen different interfaces, and please, for the love of everything holy, set a curfew and get some sleep.
Yes, your absolute best ideas will always come from a clear, rested head, not from your 47th prompt at midnight. Step away from the screen.
Growth House, your home for real growth. We'll see you in the next one.